It's a terrific Tuesday morning. I'm pleased to be with you once again. Mapito is on the way with the news, but first, your message from the morning man. Now, I'm sure you've heard the expression, elephants never forget. Well, there's a very good reason why that expression is so popular. Do you know, I read a story of an elephant in Hohenwald, Tennessee, who recognized another elephant out of a group of new arrivals to the elephant sanctuary. Now, it turned out that they had both been at the same zoo for just 1 week, 23 years ago. Imagine that. Having such a great memory must be wonderful. You know, like some sort of superpower. Everything you've ever seen, everything you've ever been told, every emotion you've ever felt, all available to you to recall at a split-second notice. Exams would be so easy. Yeah, that would be cool. Of course, there's the obvious downside, which is you would remember everything, good and bad. Every harsh word that was ever said to you, every horrible experience you've ever been through, every failure you've ever chalked up, every time someone told you that you were worthless, every time you ever doubted yourself, every single negative experience you have ever been through would be indelibly imprinted on your memory for your entire life. Now, a memory is a powerful thing. In fact, every single detail your mind holds as a fact is from a memory. Our actions and choices are informed by the details contained in our memories. There are so many of us who measure ourselves and our capabilities by what we have been told. We are as strong as someone else said we are, as handsome as someone else thought we were, as clever as someone else determined us to be sometime long, long ago. Now, the first time, it's a story, by the way, a little story for you. The first time Ben ever saw an elephant was at a family trip to the zoo. They arrived at the moment when a gigantic one was being returned from the veterinarian's station to its enclosure. Now, the colossal mammal was being led by one rather skinny attendant who was guiding it with a very feeble-looking rope tied to the elephant's front leg. The whole setup looked, well, flimsy to Ben. This was a huge beast. Surely, at any minute, it would break away from that frail attendant and stampede its way through the crowd in a wild bid for freedom, right? But this didn't happen. The 18-foot-tall, 5.5-ton African giant followed the attendant calmly into the safety of the enclosure. Now, later on, Ben saw the slim macho attendant enjoying a quiet moment in a corner with his newspaper. So the curious boy intruded long enough to ask whether the attendant ever worried about the elephant breaking loose from that insubstantial-looking rope. The anemic-looking zookeeper smiled and said, "I'll tell you a secret. That elephant has been with us since he was a little calf. Now, back then, he weighed just about 100 kilograms, and that little rope was strong enough to hold him, no matter how hard he struggled. He's 20 years old now, but he never forgot how strong that rope was, so he doesn't even bother trying to break free from it." And with that, he gave Ben a wink and returned to his newspaper. My dear friends, I think you know what I'm trying to say to you. Sometimes we build our own prisons and lock ourselves within. We hold on to the memories that, the wrong memories, and define our potential by the limitations of our past. So they said you couldn't read well as a kid, so you think you can't read law as an adult. Nobody trusted you with money in secondary school, so you think you can't run a business today. She said no to you when you were in university, and you still get tongue-tied around women now. Listen to me, that was then, this is now. You are far more intelligent, far more capable, and far more powerful than they said you were. And it's time that you flexed your muscles and pulled at that rope. You have everything to gain and nothing to lose. Stay as you are, in the prison of other people's judgment, and you can expect nothing. No change, no improvement, no progress, nothing. You'll just remain whatever you are today for the rest of your life. But if you could break away from your elephant self for a moment, if you could close your mind to the negative memories and just believe for a second that you are more than they say you are, well, you never know. That feeble rope just might snap and you could stampede your way to a life full of potential. My name is Koji Yankson, and I am not a prisoner of my past. Good morning, Ghana.
Hello, good morning and welcome to the AM News with me, Mapito CB. Now, the Eastern Regional Police Command says it has identified about 70 polling stations as flashpoints in the region as the December polls approach. The police observed that the stakes were higher this year and overzealous supporters of former President Mahama, who's seeking re-election, could potentially clash with their main opponents. Beyond this, they also cite some locations of polling stations that are considered overseas as easy triggers for violence. Chief Superintendent Raymond Kofi Azua is the Eastern Regional Acting Operational Police Commander and the new Jaobeng South Municipal Police Commander.
We are aware of the task ahead. We know that this election is going to be different. The difference is that we have a sitting president who wants to continue his term of office, and we have a former president who wants to come back. So the dynamics are not the same, and we are aware and we know the task that is ahead of us.
We are aware that there will be a lot of security challenges.
We are aware of that. And in Eastern region, we have peculiar situation because we have a lot of overseas areas. When you go to Donkokru and others, their architecture in terms of security is different. So that when the election is today, we have to go there a day or two before, so that security men can be there and send the men to various areas. There are some who are overseas, so they have to sit in a boat and the rest to go there. We are aware of all those dynamics. So we've prepared. I mean, we've both tactical, operational wise, and the legal aspect. So we are aware of the legal aspect that we are supposed to do. The operational wise, we have operational units in the region. We have the RDF, we have SWAT, we have the counter-terrorism units for the region. And so, and the men have also been trained. So there are a lot that were at stake that we are aware of.
But within the region, have you been able to identify the flashpoint within the region? Do we know?
Yes, we know the flashpoint within the region.
You know about how many flashpoints are you?
No, I cannot pinpoint because it keeps changing. Some of those places that we used to say flashpoint, we were using the recent elections for the various parliamentary candidates and others to see whether they will still be flashpoint. Some were not, and new ones have come. So as we begin to dilate and go through it, we'll be able to, by the time we get to the election area, we'll be able to now know the exact locations that we are. But we are talking about something between 60 and 70 within the region. And we are saying it's not conclusive, but these are what has happened the last election. There have been other elections that... 60
and 70, are they electoral areas or...
polling stations.
Polling stations.
Yeah, polling stations.
Now, a popular NPP activist known for his anti-NDC designed coffin campaigns in 2016 has declared his support for the flag bearer of the NDC, John Dramani Mahama. And Tim Joseph, popularly known as Olu NPP, says he now prefers to be called Olu NDC. News of his defecation has been running on social media for days now, but this afternoon he officially changed his warlike NPP camouflage to NDC colors and addressed the media in Kumasi.
In Tim Joseph, popularly called Olu NPP, shot to recognition in 2016 with his Rambo-style NPP color dressing strapped with toy machine guns and arms designed in NPP colors. Social media will remember him by his creation of a coffin draped in National Democratic Congress paraphernalia, which he dragged behind him to mock the NDC during the 2016 campaign season. Now he wears a full NDC regalia in his Rambo-style elements and prefers to be called Olu NDC. He tells Love News his defection stems from unfulfilled promises of employment creation and others made by President Akufo-Addo.
and no funny at chicken so. Yet the new chronobo. A Jumanti said an another catcher say, Obey me a Juma Yentin to Abamano. The intimate summer didn't say, His Excellency John Dramani Mama say, Oba, or Baba baby factory Samian Jumaye. I'm a subi, Mimi to subi, many Jumaya Minko Babia. They send another disappointing tinny a Pamono, and didn't support.
The NDC says it is happy that Olu NDC has seen the light. Isham Al-Hassan is regional organizer.
We are now seeing you people from darkness to light. Being a regional organizer of the NDC, we are welcoming you people to come and join National Democratic Party in Ashanti region to sack MPP and its elephants to the bush.
Meanwhile, the NPP sees his defection as his right. But Regional Secretary of the NPP, Sampine, tells Love News he would reach out to him to find out the real reasons for his defection. Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaredonko, Kumasi.
Now, President Nana Akufo-Addo has expressed his condolences to former President Jerry John Rawlings and his family on the loss of his mother. The president, in a visit to former President Rawlings on Monday, said the loss of a mother is different from the loss of a father, describing the love of mother as something that is different.
The minute I heard it, I called you to let you know that I heard it and I extended you my condolences. That I'll be able to come and visit you to do it properly when I got back to Accra. I got back to Accra finally last night. So I've been coming today with the Chief of Staff and Director of Communications at my office to come and express my condolence to you and your family, the loss of your mother. I don't know what it is, but the loss of mothers is different from the loss of fathers. That's my experience. When my mother died, I was Foreign Minister of Ghana, but I cried like a little baby. It didn't happen when my father died, but when my mother died, it happened to me. So I know exactly how you're feeling. The love of a mother is something which is different and special. So I came simply to come and express my condolence. I believe a delegation of the government has already been here to visit you, but I wanted to come myself personally. Also, to extend to you my deep condolence.
Now, the still father of the unlost state, Ambassador Dan Abodakpe, who is also the chairman of the Central Planning Committee of Madame Abote's funeral, said the family was grateful for the show of comradeship and solidarity.
I am aware, as you have said just a while ago, that when news first broke, you did the needful by calling. The family is aware of that show of sincere solidarity and comradeship. And we are also aware that on your return from Accra, you indicated you'll be coming down. We had morning, you're in town, you'll be coming. The family sincerely welcomes you and appreciates this gesture.
Now, victims of floods in the northern communities of Tamale Metro and Sagnerugu are appealing to government to come to their aid after their homes were submerged and properties destroyed. Heavy rains Sunday flooded the capital Tamale, causing the Sagnerugu Cocoa Dam to overflow its banks. Here are some residents who spoke with Joy News.
We lost our documents a lot. When you enter the room, everything is spoiled. Everything is spoiled. You can see what we are doing today. As of now, we don't know where we are going to sleep. All our things are spoiled. Our documents, everything is spoiled. And now we don't know what to do. The government has to come to our aid to give us a help. The gutter over there is the main cause of what has happened. We just came in here. We are not yet up to 2 months in this house. We came and rented, and this is what has happened. So we don't know what to do. My husband has gone for a funeral, and they are the only one. I was even sleeping. Then they told one of the children woke me up. When I came out, it was like that.
It's a very bad situation, very, very bad feeling. We've lost all our properties, our fridges, including our documents. But what happens is that we have a very short gutter that is supposed to start from our house, continue from our house to the main road, and it has been truncated from our house. So when the water comes, it flows directly from the road into our homes. Instead of it flowing into the gutter, there is no gutter because the gutter has not been constructed. It ended at a house just closer to ours. So that is why we are in this situation. And so we don't even know what to do now.
Meanwhile, flood victims in the northeast region are bouncing back after the waters receded there. Many of the residents have returned to their communities and have started rebuilding.
The whole place has been inundated with water, even though the water level has receded. But even the structures that are standing there, it's not even safe for them to live in. So we have advised that for now, they should stay away from the buildings. For now, that's why we've identified schools for them to stay in. And some of them too have decided to go and stay with their relatives. And I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. Because we have they have their relatives dotted around. So they go to stay with their relatives and come back to the community in the next day.
It's just that we have the information, Mr. Alassane, that some persons have moved back to these structures, which are dangerous even for people to live in.
But my brother, we have told them the dangers involved. We have asked them to stay away from the buildings. We've identified places for them to stay in because we are concerned. So if you take the risk of going back to stay in those buildings and then something happens to you, what can we say? We don't encourage that.
Before we leave, drivers and passengers using the Bailey Bridge at Vieri in the West District of the Upper West region say they fear for their lives plying the route. The bridge, constructed almost 20 years ago, had most of its bolts and nuts on the floor deck removed, making commute over the bridge a life-threatening journey. Joy News' Upper West correspondent Rafiq Salam reports.
If you are a first-timer visiting Vieri in the West District of the Upper West region, passing through the Verimpere Chansa Nakoro Road, you may have the feeling that you will have a jolly and comfortable ride throughout until you get out of the bituminous surface at Verimpere. You will know that you have to revise your notes. The road is deplorable, bumpy, rippling with gaping manholes. You will mistake him for a rice-muddy pitch or fish pond. The area is a hub for criminals and their elements. Most of the armed robbery cases reported in the district occurred on the stretch. Drivers plying the route says, though they struggle on the bumpy road to get to Vieri, it's not much of a concern to them for now. Their major concern is this Bailey Bridge, which was constructed almost 20 years ago. Watching it from afar, you will think that there is no doubt about its construction integrity. A careful look at the bridge showed that most of the bolts and nuts are absent. That clearly means that it is a disaster in waiting. Most of the plates at the entrance of the bridge have shifted due to the unavailability of the bolts and nuts. You can even peep through standing to see the water beneath the bridge without a struggle. Drivers, passengers and riders plying the route told me they always have their hearts in their mouths anytime they have to cross over the bridge.
And that's how we end the AM News. I am Apita CBD. Mama V. Oshaboje continues with the AM show.
Well, welcome to the review segment of our show here on the AM show, and Joseph Akable is here in studio. There's another Joseph who'll be zooming with us, Joseph Opoku Gakpo, our parliamentary correspondent, and that's because Parliament reconvenes today after a 7-week break. He'll be telling us what to expect when Parliament resumes later today. Joseph Opoku, no, not Joseph Opoku Gakpo via Zoom, but Joseph Akable. Good morning.
Good morning, Mavi, and good morning to our good friend Joseph, who has refused to join us since his NSMQ situation. I heard him asking you whether there will be some pop quiz this morning. I've not seen a.
Are you ready for it though?
I'm always ready. I'm the
this
science,
is semi-final, so the questions are not cheap.
I'm the science champion on the show.
Look at you.
Yeah, ahead of Oreku, you who has turned herself into a quiz mistress, and obviously Joseph.
I am the mini Dr. Kaufman.
Yes, and the other Joseph who performed abysmally.
Oh, so you think you're an NSMQ champion?
If he's on,
you think you're a champion?
Check whether
you want me to say the backstory?
No, you.
How you begged me to give you an easy question.
You don't worry. It's the same question you gave to Joseph. Let's check whether he's on and let's give him the question and see. He'll
join us in a little bit. He hasn't joined yet, but I promised him I'm not asking any NSMQ question. But of course, we're talking about the competition because semi-finals is today. 3 strong contests, and I would want to find out if he's got a favorite in there. That's the question that I would ask him when he joins us. But Joseph Akable, you are in court today because the Kennedy Japan issue is back. The doctor is supposed to appear before the judge.
Yes, Dr. Kenado of the Holy Trinity Spa. He is to speak to the excuse duty. He authored asking that Mr. Japan is excused from court for at least 14 days. And so he's supposed to appear. The judge will ask questions and have him explain what exactly he meant by suffering from post-COVID-19 complications. And so once the court is satisfied, then the court will direct that, will grant him the number of days that has been requested by the doctor. Then he'll be allowed to stay away for those number of days and hopefully returns to the court later on when he's much better.
But you haven't heard that there's been any notice issued by the judge so that you don't go and come back empty-handed?
No, the last notice we got is the one that has to do with upon sober reflection. So we are hoping that there wouldn't be another reflection that will lead to that kind of change. I mean, so let's see what happens.
Okay. Let's say good morning to Joseph Opoku Gakpo, who's joining us via Zoom. Joseph, good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. You know, Akable here says that he's the NSMQ champion and you couldn't defeat him. I don't want to get into that. But
I have some questions, so be careful what you say.
Oh no, there's nothing that scares me as far as issues of science and technology are concerned because I'm a scientist myself. And for the records, I think Akable's school didn't even make it to the nationals, if my memory serves me right. So I don't understand why he will sit there and be bragging as the NSMQ champion.
Oh, do you want us to play back?
Yeah.
You want us to play back the last time?
The last time when the connection was terrible. That's what I'm referring to, right? As for technology failure, it happens every day, and you can't use that against me under any circumstance.
I can't believe this guy.
Be an unfair arbiter in this matter.
Listen, I'm tempted to tell our director Yahweh to go back on the Joy News page, the Facebook page, and play back that clip for us so we can settle the score. Like right now. Okay, before we're done with the review, we'll settle the score and then we can...
Like life is about making progress. When you keep looking at the past, you turn into salt. So be careful what you do.
Well, with that said though, we've got 3 contests in the semi-finals. Any favorites? Opoku Gakpo. There's Opoku Wari, Buam Ponce, Accra Academy.
I'm rooting for Keta Senior High School.
Oh,
I know that they're in one of the semi-final contests.
That's the second contest, actually.
My hometown. That's where my mom hails from. So I really look, I'm really looking forward to them going all the way to the final and probably winning this.
Unfortunately, my hometown school is not inside.
I can please say that again.
I said, unfortunately, my hometown school is not inside, since that's how we are selecting the schools we are supporting.
No, I'm going through. Please, hold on. There's Opoku Wari as well. I have a few friends, a number of them who are actually students of Opokuwari, that I'll be happy to see them, also in the final. And our friends from Ebri, those are the three that I'm rooting for going into this particular final.
Okay.
But all in all, I would really be excited if our friends from Keta Senior High Technical School pick up the trophy in the end. Okay. Because you see, the other bit is that it's always exciting to see underdogs and people who are not expected to make it to the very top reach there. When any such underdogs reach such high levels as they deserve to be.
Okay, you justified your Keta and Opokuwari, but I didn't hear what you said about Ebri.
I'm a fan of underdogs. I'm a fan of underdogs. And I think Ebri is coming up against, if my memory serves me right,
it's Kumasi Academy and Presec Legon.
I'll still root for Ebri.
Okay, all right.
Because I think they are the underdogs. Presec, too many of them. I think it's about time they give chance for others to have that opportunity.
Okay, let's move on.
So I'm rooting for Ebri President.
Okay, all right. You say your hometown people are not featuring, so you're not rooting for anybody?
Yes, but there's a university close to Presec Legon where I school, so I'll go with Presec Legon. Yeah, I think they'll do a sixth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to the second contest, actually, the Achimota Keta in Adisado College. I think it's going to be a really interesting contest. Achimota was very strong, Keta surprisingly strong as well. And then as for Adisco, so that's the contest that
I think the Opokuwari Academy contest and the Achimota and Adisado, those contests look very tough. I'm not too sure about whether Kumasi Academy, they are doing
Kumerica,
well.
Definitely. Well. They're a very strong side indeed.
There was some school, I saw them, the guy was saying that Mamin Kebi, was it that one? Do you see that video?
No, I didn't.
Oh, they didn't know their mics were on and was telling the other guy, Mamin Kebi. Then there was another one I saw too. The guy said, a bit my true. Those two.
Yeah, but what's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong. I'm just telling you what I remember about those.
Well, we thank our sponsors, those who have made it possible for us to bring you this contest live here on Joy News. Bright Senior High School in Kokrotumi, DBS Roofing, Papa Parfie, Adonko Hand Sanitizer, and Adonko Next Energy Level Drink. All right, let's concentrate on the newspapers now. Joseph, let's start with what you have.
I'll start with the front page of the Daily Guide. Ejapa IPO suspended and free SHS troubles Mahama. NPP Cocoa Records superior is coming from Yabuabena Samoa. And Akufo-Addo consoles Rollins, also on the front page. Slay Queens brawl over flag bearer. Details of that story on page 8. Slay Queens brawl over flag bearer. You want me to mention their names? Let me go to page 8. I wasn't interested.
This has happened before, hasn't it?
Yeah, this is okay.
As in Slay Queens doing their thing.
So there are two photographs here. There's one of Miss Bell and one of Ifia Schwarzenegger under the headline Slay Queens. So I'm not okay. So I guess let's
leave the details to those who are interested.
Suggesting they are the Slay Queens. Okay. The back page says new stars jersey unveiled, and Ambassador Kweku Mons, Cobra Corte also on the back page, and Rashford begs for Spurs thrashing, and we played into their hands. It's coming from Jurgen Klopp of Liverpool. I'll quickly take you to the Ghanaian Times. The front page says, government suspends Ejapa IPO, awaits report on corruption risk assessment from OSP. And at the 2020 Ghana Teacher Prize Awards, Eric Asumenin, adjudged Best Teacher, receives 3-bedroom accommodation, other items. EC begins acceptance of nomination forms for presidential parliamentary aspirants. Second-year junior high school, senior high school students return to school, also on the front page of the Times. The back page has that Tamale Sanerugu suffering devastating flooding, and Equiapim Gold grows avocado for oil exports, also on the back page. The crime page quickly, it has this story about a painter remanded for causing harm, and 3 killed, 19 others injured in separate road crashes at Akumadan, also on the crime page. And the last one for me will be the Business and Financial Times. We have ticked all safety boxes. It's coming from the Nuclear Energy Regulator licensing program being drawn, and sun winning destroys cocoa farms in Ashanti region. A lack of incentives impede exporters' desire to take advantage of COVID-19. The back page of the Business and Financial Times says we remain resolute in our support for clients affected by COVID-19. And BOJ Finance Ministry must be commended for city stability. Is coming from Dr. Opoku Efriye. He said the first deputy governor at the Bank of Ghana. And Ghana International Bank appoints new head of coverage for Africa. Mamadi.
Let's do the Finder front page. Akufo-Addo consoles Rawlings Agbotri family. Mahama will destroy the solid foundation MPP has laid, according to Dr. Baumia. MPP policies revived cocoa sector. Farmers are better off. Cocoa roads never neglected. 2020 most outstanding teacher in Ghana wins 3-bedroom house worth 180,000 Ghana cedis. Some free senior high school 2 student not complying with mask wearing. Also another headline here. And COVID-19 protocols observed as JHS 2 resumes. So that's in sharp contrast. These two headlines. One is senior high school student not complying with the mask wearing, and then the other is the junior high school 2 observing all the protocols according to the paper. The Daily Graphic front page, President Akufo-Addo consoles Rawlings. This story really is everywhere today in all the papers. We brought details of that to you in our news. Pension reform best for workers, according to SNITS. Government committed to licensure exam. President affirms at Teacher Prize Day. Cocoa, coffee, share nut farmers group lots governments. In the center spread of the paper today, let's see what we have in the center spread of the Daily Graphic. Okay, let's do the back page. FDA assures clients of improved services, and then robbers attack Accra Kumasi buses. Driver, 2 passengers shot. A driver of a VIP bus and 2 passengers have been shot and injured by armed robbers during a midnight raid on the Apedra-Bunso stretch of the Accra-Kumasi highway. The driver, identified as Delali Yao Chagli, was receiving treatment at the hospital or a hospital on the Bunso Nkoko Road as of press time yesterday when they filed the story. But it goes on to tell us about how the attack happened, more about the victim, and then the precaution that the police is given. Let's just fast forward to that. There's a caution that drivers must be very circumspect and vigilant on the Accra-Kumasi highway, especially at nights. Passengers must also remain very vigilant and call the police during such emergency situations, while the police is also urging commercial drivers or vehicles to continue to use the services of security personnel on their trips. So there's more to the story on the back page of the paper, Joseph.
So let's, a bit of the details, page 13 of the Ghanaian Times, that story about the government suspending the Japa IPO. We are told that the government has suspended the launch of an initial public offer of Japa Mineral Royalties Limited to allow the Office of the Special Prosecutor conduct its corruption risk assessment regarding the transaction. They said they've cited a letter signed by Deputy Minister of Finance, Charles Edubuahi, on October 1 this year. And that letter says the decision was taken ahead of the OSP's request for further and better particulars regarding the arrangement. There's a quote here says, "This was prior to your office's request for information and production of documents," the letter stated. Mr. Buahin said, "Kindly note that the document was prepared about 2 months ago by the transaction advisors to update the minister on the progress of the transaction. The timing expressed in the document was the intention of the transaction advisors at the time to launch the IPO by the end of September 2020 to be completed by the end of the year." So that is the latest coming from government in terms of this particular transaction. And so the questions that remain outstanding is first whether or not they will be able to provide the documents and the OSP will be able to carry out the risk assessment, because government was working with a December timeline that it was hoping to undertake the listing. And so as to whether they'll be able to finish all this and still do the listing before December are still questions that remain outstanding. But we'll see how this one goes.
Yeah, well, the SP also inform us. Well, that letter was not directed at us, right? It was to the Finance Ministry. We just happened to see it. I was just wondering if you would tell us whether or not he had received those documents from the Finance Ministry for him to go ahead and do that assessment that he was hoping to do. And then, you know, he can draw his conclusion on the matter. But there's a story in the Daily Dispatch that I want Joseph Opoku Gakpo to also share his thoughts on, together with what we have on Voters' Voice today. This is the Daily Dispatch front page. Agona Donko chief bans NDC MP from campaigning in his area for disrespect. Details of that story on page 2, not on 12 as is being advertised on the front page. It says, following what the chief of Agona Donko, Nana Kojo Amwakwa the Fifth, describes as disrespect and disgrace to the Agona Donko stool, he has banned the Member of Parliament for Agona East constituency in the Central Region, Mrs. Quinsta Mame Pokia Sawyer, from campaigning in the town and its surrounding communities. The NDC MP, who is seeking re-election, is said to have alleged paying some monies to the chief for development projects, to which the chief failed to do. So the chief has subsequently denied receiving any such money from the NP, and according to him, all chiefs, sub-chiefs, elders of Donko lands have been instructed to ensure that nobody allowed the MP, her supporters or agents to engage in political campaigns on the lands. Joseph, any thoughts on this?
First of all, that seat in Agona is one of those seats that is proving controversial as the build-up continues. You know, Quinsta Pokia Sawyer is coming up against Professor Kwesi Anka, the Minister of Education.
Minister of State.
Minister of State, yes, in charge of
tertiary.
Education. You know, gradually, there is always one controversy or the other brewing up in that area. Of course, we all know the clear provisions as far as Ghana's laws are concerned that chiefs shouldn't be engaged in active politics. And in fact, Parliament has sought to firm that up over the years. You recall that, if my memory serves me right, this was in the year 2015 or so. There was a by-election that resulted in some violence to a certain extent in the Talensi area that eventually brought BT Baba to Parliament, and then he won the seat again. This was actually a seat that became vacant because the Member of Parliament for the area then decided to take up the role of a chief. And when he decided to do that, Speaker then, Doa Jaho, then went ahead to declare his seat vacant because he hadn't been seen in Parliament for a very long time. Robert Musori Domion, he eventually became the paramount chief of the Talensi traditional area, I think. And I recall very much that when, in 2015, Speaker Doa Jaho was declaring that particular seat vacant to allow for the by-election that eventually brought BT Baba to Parliament as an MP, he repeatedly made the point about the need to ensure that there is that clear distinction between those who are engaged in politics and those, you know, rightly making the point that if a person decides to engage in chieftaincy or a chief decides to engage in politics, there should be that clear distinction so that then the necessary actions are taken. I think those efforts should be made to actually sanitize the conduct of chiefs so we don't have some of these situations repeating, because you end up creating a situation where some form of unfair advantage is created. Because look at what is happening in Agona now. Now the MP is being prevented from campaigning in a particular area, most likely for the benefit of her opponent, and then it raises questions about the chief's own bias, as some would want to put it, and how that may end up influencing the processes. Well, unfortunately, there are too many laws and regulations and write-ups in bills and acts that get never enforced because there are questions, and maybe Joseph can help us with that. Are there specific sanctions that the law spell out that should be applied when chiefs actually engage in active politics that we can probably make the conscious effort to apply when some of these actions happen? Well, we need to see.
I guess following that provision specifically in the Constitution, is there anything, because we've seen them flouting this, doing their own things over the period. So is there punishment? Is there prescribed punishment for that?
At best, what we can look to will be the fact that, I mean, that could be a basis for their removal from the various state-recognized bodies that they belong to. You know that if you're a member of either the regional or the National House of Chiefs, there are some allowances that you're entitled to. But in terms of sanctions, as in it amounting to a crime, I haven't seen any law that states that specifically. And there are those who have made the argument that even the fact that the state has not pursued or taken up the matter against anyone, that has also not given the courts the opportunity to speak on what exactly active politics means. Because someone will tell you that, look, a president or a candidate has come to my place. He has built schools and roads for me. I'm grateful. I feel he's done well and deserves another term. He says that is not active politics. There are those who hold the view that that is active politics because you're endorsing one candidate. There are also some chiefs who play around it. I mean, you get the message they are putting across, but they are not direct. And so it's more of the fact that we've not taken up the matter to the judiciary for interpretation. And that's how come there is that lack of clarity in terms of even what constitutes a breach of that particular constitutional provision.
But yet you also see some people, add their voices and say, vote for this person.
Yes, I mean, I've heard some say for more to do more. I've heard some say that, I mean, there was one chief I heard yesterday, he was making a point that they are offering the president a parcel of land to build a house here and that they are doing everything to support his next term bid and ensure that he wins by a huge margin. I mean, those ones are aspects that we can talk about.
Yeah, I think
obviously the states will never want to take this up and make a big deal of it because the same politicians are the ultimate beneficiaries of some of these actions in terms of public declarations of support. But I think that the chieftaincy institution, in order to continue to exert its relevance and to create a situation where people continue to respect it, the chieftaincy institution itself must sit up and deal with some of their own when it comes to some of these things, from the National House of Chiefs to the Regional House of Chiefs, and set examples of their colleagues. Because then, if this continues, they are creating room for people who are on the other side of the political divide to openly disrespect them once they declare their support for one candidate or the other. And so I think the institution should be able to exert its authority and deal with this without even external actors like the state and all. Otherwise, then their relevance gets lost going forward and respect for it.
Yeah, but Joseph, Parliament is back today. Tell us what we should expect. Any interesting bills that you'll be following for us?
Just a minute before then I get to that. A few of the issues that came up on the newspaper review, the Ejapa deal we gather has actually been suspended. Earlier, the indication was that the processes to allow for the initial public offer was going to begin at the ending of last month, which government says it's gone ahead to suspend. The special prosecutor, as we all know, is usually in a world of his own, on timelines of his own. We're waiting to see if really by December he would have finished the work that he's doing and whether government will be ready and willing to hold on until December to commence the processes for the IPO. I have made the point that I think it wouldn't be prudent and it wouldn't make sense for that said initial public offer to actually commence before December 7, 2019, because the political risks are enormous. I don't think any investor will buy stake in a Ejapa before December 7. If they do that, they won't be able to raise the 1 billion they're hoping to raise, because chances are that people will be scared, people will be worried. But after December 7, then everyone is clear in their mind. If it's NPP winning, then there's 4 more years to invest and reap some benefits before any possible cancellation. If it's NDC, then it's going off the table completely. So even if the process is allowed to continue, there is no way the floating of shares on the London and Ghana Stock Exchange should have happened before December, because it will be politically unwise to do that. But with the special prosecutor going on with all of that, we wait to see how things pan out. You did the story about the cocoa roads. It's been a repeated concern that money meant for cocoa roads have ended up being money that's been used for other purposes than cocoa roads, including building roads in Accra and elsewhere. The cocoa board boss is assuring us that that hasn't happened over the past 4 years and will not happen going forward. We wait to see how things pan out. It's become a repeated political issue in Parliament, with the minority demanding details of the said audit report that cocoa board did back in 2017, that some of the roads had been inflated and all. Yesterday, Kwame Agboja and Joseph Boahene were on, that's the cocoa board CEO, and the minority spokesperson on transport were on News 9. I hope they managed to settle that one way or the other. But the final thing, the story did about compliance with the wearing of face masks. The reality is that you watch TV, ministers sit on TV, have conversations and are not in face masks. You watch public events, people campaigning and not wearing face masks and all. So we're setting that example the young people who are watching us on TV and are probably listening to us. So if we really want schools and students to comply as they return to school, let's all begin to set the right example by adhering to the COVID protocols and wearing our face.
Absolutely. Now we have just very limited time for you to tell us about Parliament as they return from that recess. 7 weeks break it's been?
Yes. So the key thing we can expect is that the Minister for Finance will be in the House to deliver the 2021 first quarter budget statements, because that's what the law requires, that before we get into the year, the budget for the year that's coming up be read. And because it's an election year, then it will just be that of the first quarter. So over the next 6 weeks, we're expecting the Finance Minister to actually come do that. There's a bill before Parliament, the Public Officers Conduct Bill 2018, which among others will strengthen the asset declaration regime and allow for the Auditor General to do more than just taking it and keeping it under lock and key. That bill has been in the House for a few months now. The House will deal with it before they eventually go on break. And then the other key thing is this whole issue around Ghana facing sanctions from the European Union. There's an money laundering legislation that's being introduced in Parliament as part of the efforts to strengthen how we deal with money laundering and anti-terrorism financing. Obviously, the House will prioritize that among a list of other things before they eventually take a break to go campaign ahead of December 7th.
Okay, we have to wrap up, but just in 30 seconds, our director Yao is going to put a write-up. This is the President, Akufo-Addo, writing in the book of condolence. Joseph Akable, am I right?
Yes, when he visited Mr. Rollins, the former president. And, you know, I saw it on social media. People have been trying to read what exactly was written.
So what did Mr. President write exactly? Can we try to read that?
I have been able to read it.
Oh, you have?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Opoko Gakpo, you see that on the screen. Can you attempt reading?
My screen is frozen. Yeah, so it's a little difficult to read.
Okay, I'll start for you, okay? I can read the date, 5th October 2020. Mona's name, Nana Adodankwa Akufo-Addo. The address, Jubilee Villa, Kanda, Accra. So go ahead with the remarks.
I wish to extend my deep sadness and sympathies on the loss of your mother.
No, Joseph.
Wait, let him finish. Go ahead. Nobody's marking you, Joseph. Go ahead.
And then it goes on to say that the loss of your mother is always a difficult situation. She lived a very good life. I wish to say that may the Almighty God bless her and bless you as well. Signed, President Akufo-Addo. Hooray! Thank you for coming in as well. So there you go. I nailed it.
Okay, what did he actually say?
Okay, so it says, I came to extend my deep condolences and sympathies to the loss of Commandant's mother. And the loss of a mother is always a special moment in the life of any person. As I can testify myself, I wish Madame Victoria Agbotu the very best of peace in the bosom of the Almighty until the last day of the resurrection, when we shall all meet again.
How many times did you read it before you finally got it?
Many, many times. And even eventually when I got it, people were still correcting me that I've left some there and some somewhere.
Okay, so Joseph Opoko Gakpo, you are the hero this morning, okay? You are my hero.
Everything I've said over the last 1 minute or so. Thanks for the coffee.
Listen, Joseph, we'll see you in Parliament later today, okay? Thanks a lot for joining us. Thank you, Joseph Akable. Joseph packs off to the courts this morning. He will give us updates on that Kennedy Japan case. We have to take a breather. We'll come back with sports. Orieko Ampofo has some summer transfer news coming up. Stay with us.
But from getting some expert opinion from our own Neo Datilante, let's move over across borders, and this time we hear from former Manchester City midfielder Nigel de Jong, who thinks that Thomas Partey would be a fantastic signing for the Gunners.
He's a great, like I look at him as in my position as well, and he's a great player. The way how he played at Atletico, the way how powerful he was, the way how his addition to go box to box, but also could defend. Also the back four. He's really technical gifted as well, what most of the Ghanaian players are. And also powerful as well. So I think he would be a great addition for Arsenal because they're missing that kind of player in front of that back four. That sweeper, that Makalele kind of type, that Kante kind of type. And I think partly has more of a box to box engine. He's more of an Essien, I think, than more of a Makalele. So I think he will be a great asset. I think you guys as Ghanaians can be very proud to see him there at Arsenal, and he will be successful one way or the other.
He said Ghanaians would be proud, and that's exactly why I'm wearing an Arsenal jersey. Just a disclaimer out there to Mama V and to everyone, I'm not an Arsenal fan.
Listen, for Thomas Partey, we're all Arsenal fans now.
Exactly.
I think that's what we'll begin to see.
I saw a post that if Arsenal lose by 5-2 and Partey scores a hat-trick, we're happy. Especially if you're not an Arsenal fan. but there was an interesting twist to the deal, and I just wanted to put that out. That although Arsenal, paid 50 million euros to Atletico Madrid, they would be losing about 5 million of that to Leganés. Now, Leganés is a Spanish side that was relegated to the second division. But then Thomas Partey has actually never played for the club. He joined them during his youth days, and when he went there on loan, Leganés, bought 10% of his player rights, because they knew his potential. Oh. And then in 2017, they sold 40% of those rights to Atletico Madrid for 6 million euros. And now, because they still have some percentage of that, if you calculate it, it would amount to 5 million of the player rights that they do have left. So if you add 6 million and 5 million, they're getting 11 million for a player.
So he's somebody's investment.
Yeah, it's an investment. He actually never played for the club. Very interesting. We'll be seeing how that goes. But his move certainly did create a buzz all over social media. Let's take a look at some interesting videos that popped up after the signing yesterday.
Indeed, this is your election headquarters. You're welcome to Voters' Voice here on the AM show this Tuesday. Our concentration today is on a matter that's been brewing. Came up strongly yesterday with different experts having their say on this, and I'm talking about the issue of chiefs actively participating in partisan politics. I want to remind you of that constitutional provision. Usually when the matter comes up, we point to what the Constitution says, the reason chiefs should not be engaged in politics. But what exactly is that provision? Here we go with what is contained in that, and this is Article 276 of the 1992 Constitution, which says a chief shall not take part in active party politics, and any chief wishing to do so and seeking election to Parliament shall abdicate his stool or skin. You can go to read the rest of it and then, make up your mind on that. But having heard different experts, there are people who say this provision, for instance, is not clear. They're putting their own interpretation to it. Some people have said, open the floodgates. They're doing it anyway. What do the people say on this? What is their voice? That's what we want to hear right now before we bring you what some other persons have been saying. So here are voices on this matter.
Well, I think leadership is all about development. So when you're a chief, all right, there's a need for you to focus on the development of your chiefdom or whatever. So you don't necessarily have to engage in partisan politics, but then at least you have to make sure that in whatever thing you engage yourself in, it all boils down to the development of your town or your city. That's what I think.
All right, actively. So my understanding about politics is as in choosing sides, right, and policies, making choices, right, and as a chief already you are playing a leadership role. Sometimes partisan politics actually, if it is not going to disturb your line of work, what you are doing, I think it's fine. But if it is, sometimes depending on where you are located, I think you should just focus on what role has been put into your hands to do, and then rather let that thing work. Yeah, and let that politics thing lie. That is what I think. Yeah, so it depends. If it's not going to go against your role of work, yes, yeah, that's it.
Be a partisan in politics because you stand as a neutral person to the people. So if you join either NDC or MPP, how can your people, I mean, what can I say? If some of your people have a problem, how are they going to come to you and you advise them? Because they may say this chief is a NDC, so when I go to him I will not listen to whatever I'm going to say.
I think it's yes and no. Yeah, yes, because they are also part of the citizens. They are citizens of this country, and then they can involve themselves in it. And then no, because they are authorities, right? And then in Ghana, we respect our leaders. So when they involve themselves in politics, other people can just be insulting them anyhow, because maybe they won't be of the same view, right? Maybe the chief can be an NDC man or NPP person, and then other people won't form. Especially, let's look at what happened with the chief imam, the Ashanti regional one. Yeah, so people who don't think he shouldn't have made that comment. Yeah, so I think people of authority at times they should exempt themselves, and then at times too they can also partake in it because they're also citizens. Yeah.
I don't think there's any problem with the chief engaging in anything like that. It's politics, and if it divides us, then it's not good for us. So since it's only good for us if it puts us together. You understand? So chiefs, I don't think if a chief supports someone, it should bring division among the society or anybody. I don't have any problem with that. I'm only concerned about my music and my songs. So if a chief is supporting anyone, I'm not there. I'm not part of that move. Okay, so better subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow my music. I think that will be better than these things. There's no problem with it.
Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante joins us via Zoom on the back of the voices that we've heard. Dr. Asah-Asante, a very good morning to you, if you can hear me. Hello, good morning to you, sir. Hello, sir. Could you kindly unmute? Okay. Apologies there. Hello, sir. I think there's an issue with your audio. We'll try and sort that out and then come back to you. But in the meantime, as we try to correct that, there's something that another lawyer has put out there that we would want to share with you. But before we even do that, let's hear the voices again.
Well, I think leadership is all about development. So when you're a chief, all right, there's a need for you to focus on the development of your chiefdom or whatever. So you don't necessarily have to engage in partisan politics, but then at least you have to make sure that in whatever thing you engage yourself in, it all boils down to the development of your town or your city. That's what I think.
All right, actually. So my understanding about politics is as in choosing sides, right, and policies, making choices, right, and as a chief already you are playing a leadership role. Sometimes partisan politics actually, if it is not going to disturb your line of work, what you are doing, I think it's fine. But if it is, sometimes depending on where you are located, I think you should just focus on what role has been put into your hands to do, and then rather let that thing work. Yeah, and let that politics stay in line. That is what I think. Yeah, so it depends. If it's not going to go against your role of work, yes, that's it.
Be a partisan in politics because you stand as a neutral person to the people. So if you join either NDC or MPP, how can your people, I mean, what can I say? If some of your people have a problem, how are they going to come to you and you advise them? Because they may say this chief is a NDC, so when I go to him I will not listen to my whatever I'm going to say.
I think it's yes and no. Yeah, yes, because they are also part of the citizens. They are citizens of this country, and then they can involve themselves in it. And then no, because they are authorities, right? And then in Ghana, we respect our leaders. So when they involve themselves in politics, other people can just be insulting them anyhow, because maybe they won't be of the same view, right? Maybe the chief can be an NDC man or NPP person, and then other people won't form. Especially, let's look at what happened with the chief imam, the Ashanti regional one. Yeah, so people who don't think he shouldn't have made that comment.
We can now speak to Dr. Asah-Asante now. Good morning to you, sir. Apologies for the mishap earlier. Hopefully we can hear you. Hello, Dr. Asah-Asante. Okay, good morning. Great to have you on the AM show and on Voters' Voice. The question we're asking really is not new. This issue has come up. It came up strongly in 2016. I remember after the election, people were making mockery of those chiefs who clearly endorsed the NDC's candidate, essentially laughing at them because they lost. But it's come up again, and I wonder the implication this has on our politics. You're coming from a political science background. So generally, is there a clear cut? Where are we really?
My dear sister, if they could correct the line. I'm getting some feedback which is disturbing me, so I'm not able to focus. If we can fix it in a minute, we can go ahead with our conversation.
Absolutely, we will do that. We will probably take this conversation on the phone so we can get the conversation going. Dr. Asah-Asante is a political scientist with the University of Ghana. Just trying to correct that sound now so we can get back to him. Dr. Asah-Asante, can you hear me better now?
Yeah, it's fine. It's very fine now.
Okay, great. So I was just asking, I was saying at the beginning that this matter is not new, and we saw it come up rather very strongly in the last election, where chiefs went all out. We've read the constitutional provision, which some lawyers have said is not even clear, and they put different interpretation to it. I was asking the implication on our politics to have chiefs clearly either endorse or take part in active politics.
Yes. Good morning, my sister, once again. I am not surprised that we are seeing a recurrence of this around this time. This has been with us since time immemorial, not even the Fourth Republic. It's been with us for a very long time. But unfortunately, the state has not done anything about it. We look on while these things go on. And especially when it's about campaign time or election time, we see these things coming up. And then we talk about it briefly, and then after election, we go back to sleep, only to return to the same problem in the next election. That's unfortunate. But it tells you the hypocrisy on the part of Ghanaians in terms of issues like that. We want to deal with the problem, but at the same time, we don't want to talk about it. That position, for me, is not helping matters. But I think there are a lot of causes in this regard. Why are we seeing a recurrence of this? It's simply because the politicians benefit from this. So those who make the law work are not able to put their foot down simply because of what they could derive from such enterprise. Another point is that there's a lack of political will on the part of politicians, and that also ties in with my earlier point that I made, that they are not able to enforce the law as it is. But let's even look at the law itself. Is the law what it is? Is it enforceable? To the best of my mind, I'm not sure the law provides any sanction for people who flout this type of provision. So we are in a very difficult situation that, yes, at a point in time we see that, yes, this phenomenon is really going to affect the course of our politics. And yet we are not prepared to do anything about it. We only rise up to talk about few things and then go to sleep, and for the thing to fester and for us to come and talk about it. That's not good enough. But there is something that we also have to ponder over and see whether we can make meaning and then find a solution to it. People also believe that the chiefs are being silent in terms of how to govern their country. These are people who are, some of them are very qualified to talk about politics, to be part of the conversation about the development of their country, to be part of any political discussion, and yet they are being pushed to the periphery because they are chiefs, they can't act. Has the state taken the trouble to look at all these so that we can reflect on it properly and have a very sound solution to the problem? That, for me, is the crux of the matter. Hello?
Yes, sir. There's a very crucial question. Will a government work with a chief who is a known political opponent? And an answer to this will bring us to another leg of this conversation. What does the political scientist say?
Strictly speaking, I don't see that is the case, or anything of this nature is good for this country. Why do you want to have a chief who is partisan to join, so to speak, the political campaign, give support to your party, and then the rest of it? My view is that there's something that we are not doing right. If you look at the law as it stands now, it is not enforceable. Yes, because every law must provide sanctions, and we don't have sanctions for people who flout them, right? I think we have to do something about it if we want to get it right and fix this problem once and for all. We are just paying lip service, and that's not helping matters. For now, what we know is that the chiefs are put on board and they are part of the local government administrative structure in a way. I think that is something we have to take a second look at the issue so that we can bring them on board on other areas that will help them to be a bit comfortable. But some of them, if you talk to them, they'll tell you, we are also citizens of this country. Why do you want to deny us the opportunity to be part of any political discussion of this? This argument, from my perspective, I believe that it's sound enough for us to for it to gain our attention. So we need to look at these things so that we can find a lasting solution to it.
But the trend in Ghana, if you want to join the political conversation, you must belong to one party or the other, which means that you must be partisan.
Yes, The Constitution makes it clear that if you want to join a party, you need to, if you are positioned as a chief, you need to abdicate and then join in full time. There's no problem about that. But you cannot be a chief and at the same time play active politics. That's where the problem is. And because the law is at the moment not enforceable, we have this problem on our hands. I believe the way forward to this problem is that either we come out with a law that really spells out sanctions for people who violate that law. That problem is not going to go away anytime soon. The second thing we need to do is if you don't want to go by what we have in the provision of as a provision in the Constitution, we can look at a law that would say that any chief who engages in this is enough grounds for dismissal, where any ordinary person can trigger a court action and it can see to the removal of the chief from the stool. That is one way to look at it. Another way is to also give them a quota on the board that we put them on. We know, as the current arrangement is that chiefs, some of them are put on boards here and there. We need to deepen that if we are really serious about this problem, and then give them a quota so that you can have quite a number of them being represented in various boards. I think that can comfort them and can suit them.
But it's interesting you say that, Dr. Asante, because we know that even for you to get an appointment of this nature, you must be politically aligned somehow.
Yeah, but you know that it is not always the case that you need to be politically active before you get appointment. That is not always the case. Sometimes it's by dint of hard work, or because of your record or your experience. People want to bring you on board so that you can have your expertise felt on the board. And that is the basis by which sometimes we appoint people. Not necessarily you are a political animal or you have a political connection. No.
Yeah, but what's the perception out there? Once you're appointed by this government and the appointment is made by the president, that's how you're perceived to be aligned with the government.
So are we saying that if the president appoints anybody who is worth his or her salt and can deliver the public goods, that appointment is tainted and cannot be regarded as a genuine appointment? No, I differ from that position. I believe that if somebody has what it takes to be able to deliver the public goods or support us in any cause that we do, and we bring the person on board, why not? Remember, even in other jurisdictions, you have second chamber where people are appointed into the upper house, where people are selected into the upper house, not on the basis of politics, but by their experience, by wealth of ideas and all that. They think that bringing that person on board, you are going to leverage on that and improve the fortunes of the country. So I think if we take a cue from this, it should help us. And this ties in with the argument that people believe that why don't you scrap the Council of State and make it a second chamber, so that some of the chiefs can get in there and then bring their expertise to bear on the work of Parliament.
So who takes the lead in the changes? Because you've already stated that the politicians are beneficiaries of this. So nobody wants to touch this piece of law that really means nothing. It's just sitting there. We keep quoting it. We keep condemning this act. We talk about it, yet the chiefs continue to do it.
Yeah, the conversation has started today. But if we are serious, we can sustain it and bring other actors in. What am I talking about here? We can, civil society can take it up and make it part of their business to be able to team up with people in Parliament, such as the backbenchers, and then they can end up with a private member bill that goes to Parliament and get it passed. And then we all make sure that it is enforced. And it can be used as one of the campaign tools, that any party that is not ready to do this thing for us, we are not ready to give you any mandate. If we are serious about it, I'm sure we'll be able to find a lasting to it. But for now, I believe that we are only paying lip service. We are not serious about the problem. We are not ready to find solution to it. For me, that is what there is for Daniel.
Yeah, but is this issue hurting us so much?
It is, because who are the chiefs? They are, as it were, the God's representatives on earth. They are the rallying force behind the people in our various local areas. they are the symbol of authority traditionally, and they are the people around which traditional system revolves. And of course, our whole existence as people with a common destiny, a common history, and all that. So the chiefs are nothing but very important people in our traditional society, for which reason we cannot allow them to be part of politics, so that the force or the power that they will be divided among us, or we'll look at them with a certain level of, lack of respect, if there's anything like that. So, put it simply, all that I'm saying that we should not support this type of business, so that our chiefs will remain people that will respect, people that will believe they represent us in all things.
Dr. Kwame Asante, just the final one. What pushes the chiefs, to do this in the first place? Is it pressure from the politicians themselves? Or is just some incentives? Sometimes they are overwhelmed by the development that comes to their area and they can't help it, so they go ahead and make those endorsements.
It's a mix of factors, and you have rightly pointed out some of them. One is that sometimes they are overwhelmed by the development that is going on or coming on from government in their area. Of course, every chief wants development. They want their people to progress, make it in life, earn the living and all that. So when they see that, they can hold their joy, but to express it publicly. Another thing is also that sometimes, they are in desperate need to be part of the political competition. Imagine you and I, who have gone to school, develop ourselves, and there is something that you can contribute and contribute effectively, even through campaign and all that. And you are prevented from speaking on those issues. It's a bit worrying, a worrying development that we need to look at. Why do you allow everybody to be part and parcel of the political discourse, but chiefs are only people who cannot be part? That the state has not taken a critical look at, and we have not been able to deal with it. And if you look at the country's administrative architecture, you realize that it pushes the chiefs into the periphery. They are not part of serious political business, and that's why some of them are reacting the way they do. But of course, some also could be that, yes, they are aligned with other parties, and they derive certain benefits. Remember, some of them are businessmen and women and all that. So sometimes they want their contract to get through, and they want to rely on politicians for these things to be carried through for them. So you can see such, behavior showing up in the public.
Is this going to get worse? Just finally, before you go,
I believe we are not out of the woods yet. We are going to have difficult situations as we go along. If we don't nip this problem in the bud, we are going to see even chiefs going to the extreme to do things that you and I cannot even want to dream about. They can get worse. But the state, if we are serious and want to address this problem, we must look at it from serious perspective and be cool and reflect on them and have a lasting solution to it. It can be done. But if the state is not serious about it, we will only talk about this during election time and go to sleep and allow the problem to reappear the next election.
Dr. Kwame Asante, I thank you very much for your time, as always, here on the show.
Most great.
Absolutely very important thoughts there that he shares with us. He's a political scientist with the University of Ghana. And that's it for Voters' Voice. But before we go, here's some comments shared by lawyer Professor Kweku Asari and his thoughts on Facebook. I'm going to be reading them to you. This is a lawyer's perspective, and a colleague of his raised the question, are chiefs engaged in active party politics when they, like foot soldiers, shower praises on and publicly endorse politicians? He says it's a good question. The answer must lie in why chiefs are banned from engaging in active politics. Those who wrote the Constitution, he says, must have felt that chiefs are or must at least play the role of a unifying force. They should be capable of speaking to all sides of the political divide such that all sides can trust their word when they engage in their usual squabbles. Further, they might have felt that chieftaincy is a traditional institution that is or should be beyond partisanship. This view of chieftaincy will also apply to the judiciary and other members of independent bodies. Viewed from that perspective, one could reasonably argue that chiefs play active politics when they take sides. This will include the endorsement that the person who first raised the question, that's Honorable Chumesi, as he puts it, described. Thus, I'll vote to expand the meaning of active to include any public actions that identify the chief with or as supporting a political party. Views of Professor Kweku Asare, who is a very important person really when it comes to national conversations, because he takes it to a whole new level, most of the time seeking constitutional interpretation to the issues that borders us as a country. So the view of a lawyer, because the issue has come up in terms of what does the constitutional provision even mean, with some people saying it doesn't mean that the chiefs can't do what we've seen them do. It doesn't constitute active politics and so on and so forth. So the conversation continues, but that's it for Voters' Voice from us here on the AM show. Join us again on Thursday, God willing, as we bring up another issue related to the election. This is your election headquarters. Still to come here on the AM show, though, we've got the National Science and Maths Quiz. We're entering into the semi-final stage. We will be touching base with Maxwell Agbagba live from the University of Ghana Business School. The 3 competitions starting from 9 a.m. remember, will be live here on Joy News. Update on all our social media handles. We've got our roving reporter also today reporting from the Obechebi Lamte roundabout. Major construction works ongoing, some inconveniences here and there, but how would it all look like when it is done? So Manuel Cranton will bring us that report as well. We've got show business news also here on the show. Stay with us.
Base, the exit of the first phase of the Obechebi Lamte interchange. Now, this flyover, as you would see shortly, connects folks who are moving to and fro the Graphic Road and the Kaneshi area, so the Winneba Accra Highway. And this is about, I'm told, 169 meters, and is the first phase of the project, which is costing about 135 million US dollars. This phase cost 35 million US dollars and was started in November 2019. Was on course to be completed in November 2020, but for the unfortunate advent of the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm here trying to, wrap my head around the project and its complexities and how, for instance, its completion will lead to the easing of congestion of traffic flow, as you can see behind me, on this stretch. And so I'm going to talk to the resident engineer here, Engineer Owusu Setre Entry. He's a resident engineer in charge of consultancy, and his company is Fast Consultants, and they are in charge of the consultancy for this particular project, the very first phase. I'm going to talk to him to get some updates and details on this project and why it's even useful. Thank you, engineer. Thanks so much for speaking.
You're welcome.
Great. So tell me about, I went to Accra Academy just right here, and so I'm not new to this stretch, but this is a major facelift for the road. Tell us the details.
As you said, right, thank you. The project is in 2 phases.
Okay.
Phase 1 is the bridge from the Graphic Road towards Kaneshi. That's phase 1. Phase 2 will be the bridge from the Circle Road to the Mochi Road. That's phase 2. But currently we are working on phase 1. Okay. And phase 1 is 35 million, as I said earlier. Right. Now the phase 1 has the bridge, a total length of 169 meters. Right. The bridge has reinforced concrete columns, piers we call them, with abutments, and the superstructure is made up of steel with concrete deck and asphaltic surface running. That's basically what it is.
Okay, great. So that's 169 meters and it's supposed to link Graphic Road to Kaneshie. But I mean, what are some of the ancillary, facilities that are coming with, apart from the flyover on phase 2? What else do we have?
Right, under phase 1, what we've done is we've improved the capacity of the underground storm drain around the area. That's, you look at the Hyundai showroom there. Yeah, there's a storm drain there. We've improved its capacity. And then
by improving its capacity, you mean what? You've expanded it?
Yeah, what it means is that it can take more water now than it used to take. Now, the other thing we've done is that the water from the Kaneshie side turned 90 degrees into the Odo River, the Odo Channel. Now, what we've done is we eliminated the 90 degrees and put in a curve, a smooth curve. So the water flows in a smooth curve into the Odo Channel. And this also improves the flow of the river.
At 90 degrees, that was too much pressure and you had spillover.
Well, at 90 degrees, of course, water will always want to move smoothly. So at 90 degrees, you always have this backflow in there. And it also, what they call it, the upstream people will always be having flooding. But with a smooth curve, the water will flow smoothly.
That's a major contribution to the floods that we saw there.
Yes, it's a major contributing factor. And as I said, we've also improved the capacity of the underground storm drain. Yeah.
Okay. And so what are we looking at? Maybe for you, we'll just try and turn around so that you are able to have a glimpse of the beams that they are laying and the reinforced concrete. These are steel beams, right?
That's correct. They are steel girders. Yeah, steel beams, right.
Okay, so what are they supposed to do? What are we looking at?
Now, currently, what we have the steel beams or the steel girders. We're going to put precast concrete slabs on them. We're going to put precast concrete slabs on them. The precast concrete have already been done. They are currently in the contractor's yard.
Okay.
Now put the precast concrete slabs on them, put reinforcement of the precast concrete slabs, and then put concrete on them.
Okay. Okay.
So that's just okay.
Well, thanks for still staying with us here on the AM show. We talk about good news. If you sat for the entrance exams, the law school entrance exam, then you would know that over 1,000 students passed, unlike what happened in last year where we had less than 200 of the students passing that exam, or a little over that figure. Well, it's massive pass this year. We want to get down and speak to some students and find out, what this makes them feel. Joining us on Zoom for a conversation on the back of this, over 1,000 students passing the School of Law entrance examinations. I've got some guys joining me via Zoom now. Philemon is the SLC president, Ghana School of Law. Good morning, Philemon. Good to see you. Philemon,
good morning, Mama V.
Okay, great. Kweku is a law student, faculty student. Good morning to you, Kweku. If you can hear me, say hello to me. Hi, Kweku. If you can hear me, can I hear your head? Okay, great.
Hi.
Okay, good.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Prosper, let me say good morning to Prosper and congratulations to you. You sat for that exam and you got in.
Hello, good morning.
Okay, great, Prosper. I was just saying congratulations to you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so let me go to Kweku, because I guess for any student who is in law school, at least the faculty who wants to enter Makola, as we put it, this will be good news to you. What does it say to you, even though you haven't written that exam yet?
Well, it is. One fear for many law students is that you would pass through 4 years of legal education and then be denied the opportunity to take the professional course. And we often ask ourselves the question that, what are we going to do with, the degree? So it is good news. However, even though the pass rate is up by 23%, it is still indicative that there exists a problem. And the problem is there are still people who would not enter. And by virtue of that, people still fail, and there is a chance that people will fail. So it's good news, yes, it ought to be celebrated, yes, that's true, but there is more that ought to be done.
Let me come to you, Philemon, because you fought through this, and I wonder how you see this. Is this victory? Is this still work in progress?
Right, Mama V, first of all, I think this is a victory we take with some bit of caution. Caution because the reforms we ask for are sweeping. The reforms we ask for is not a 1-year admission of 1,045 students. We're asking for an overhaul, not an overhaul per se, but a general reform in legal education. You recall that students have engaged robustly over the years to make sure that reforms are seen in the Ghana School of Law and for those who want to enter the Ghana School of Law. So this is just one part of what we've been calling for. And as much as we are thankful for it, our position remains that reforms must be across board.
Well, let's just quickly go over some of these reforms again. Are you calling for no entrance exam at all?
We're asking that every LLB person be given the opportunity to partake in the professional law course at the Ghana School of Law. That is our position. We do not understand that a system should exist for people to have LLB degrees and be denied the opportunity to go on to become lawyers. Statistically, we have very few lawyers in this country. We have retreated, and those in power have said over and over again that the Attorney General's Department, which is the highest employer of lawyers in this country, is limited in the number of lawyers it has. Go into the regions, Upper East, Upper West, Northern Region, Northeast. Go down and see that the Attorney General's Department is seriously understaffed. It is a police service that is playing the complementary role of prosecuting on behalf of the state. So already there's a problem. There's the need for lawyers. All lawyers are mainly, Accra alone is just made up of about 80% of lawyers in this country. Go into the regions, there are no lawyers. Access to justice is a problem. So we think that the legal profession should be opened up such that people that have LLBs are able to pursue and achieve their career ambition of becoming lawyers.
Just hold it there for me, Philemon. Let me bring Prosper into this conversation. Prosper, we have a better connection now. Good morning to you again, and congratulations to you. You got in, but I guess there are friends of yours, mates of yours who sat with you through that exams who are not going with you to the next stage. What's the general sentiment?
Yes, from where I come from, University of Ghana, I think a number of people made it. I dare say almost the entire class, but just a few. But people are genuinely elated, people are delighted. I think the efforts and the input that stakeholders have been making over the last year have sort of yielded some results. So this is something that people really clap hands for. Yeah.
And let me come back to you, Kweku and Philemon, because Kweku, you're yet to write this exam. What are you hoping to see next year? That there will be an improvement of this, or because we're all waiting to see like 100% entry, not that we will make this progress, but we'll still have a lot more people who are not able to make it.
Exactly. That's what we are hoping for, because it's quite frustrating, and it is quite ironic that the institutions that train people to secure and protect justice has inherently injustice reigning within its walls. It would be very good for everybody with an LLB to pass through and take the professional course and possibly be called to the bar. But the problem here has to do with maintaining standards, as well as making sure that students are satisfied with the system. So where do we strike the balance between maintaining the standards of lawyers we are producing in the country and ensuring more students, take the exam? But hopefully, next year, we hope that people are not frustrated. People are not frustrated unduly. People have the opportunity to take the course and be called to the bar. How called to lower the standards of the legal profession.
Okay,
in the country, because the fact that the numbers are low, or the fact that we agitate for it, should not.
Philemon, I also want to talk to you about what could possibly happen next year, because you are at the professional level, so you appreciate what goes on there. Not everybody who goes to the professional school comes out. So if people continue to fail, even at the professional level, it will be difficult to allow freshers into the professional school.
Yes, right. In the Ghana School of Law, there is a backlog of people that had entered as far back as 2013 who are still in the school. But I must comment that there's a certain new wave of leadership in the Ghana School of Law. Our new director, Mr. Maxwell Opoku-Agyeman, has proven to be one of our strongest allies we can have, and he's quite progressive in his thoughts. But you see, before we even go into what could happen next year, let's consider the fact that as far as 1045 is a good thing, we have thousands of students out there with LLBs, and even many more who are still in the faculties or be churned out. What exactly is the concrete plan going forward? Would we admit 1,000 students every year? Would we open up access to allow the faculties to train more people? What is the sustainable way of training lawyers as we go into the future? These are questions we must have. These are conversations we must have. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem like as of yet there's anything concrete. We are still open as a National Association of Law Students, as the SRC of the Ghana School of Law, to engage all stakeholders, because we want a policy, we want a sustainable plan, a workable plan that allows for progressive reforms in legal education in this country. 1045 in 1 year is not enough to solve the problems that law students face in this country. What we need is general reforms. When you come into the Ghana School of Law, we have our own problems. Like you rightly said, it doesn't seem very smooth. The transition in and out of the school doesn't seem very smooth. We have situations where if you felt that your paper is unjustly marked, you'd have to pay as much as 1,500 cedis to have your paper remarked. We think that is something that must change. We have students who have gone to other Commonwealth jurisdictions to train as lawyers who come back and want to be called to the Ghana Bar and to undergo a 9-month training, paying as much as £6,000. That again is something we find way too high, and we hope that as we engage in the coming days, those in power listen to us. I think that we must begin to appreciate the fact that the concerns that students have raised over the years have been genuine concerns. They have been concerns that go to the core of our being and ambitions to become lawyers in this country. So we are very thankful for the new way of leadership that the General Legal Counsel and the Ghana School of Law is experiencing. But fundamentally, our position remains that reforms is something we must attend to.
Well, thankfully, we're in the electioneering period, and we've had the political parties, at least the two major political parties, say something. So, in effect, I'm asking, who should address the concerns of law students in Ghana? Is it the political?
Mama, via opposition, we reacted. The National Association of Law Students reacted to the campaign promises of the two political parties on legal education. If you would indulge me, the MPP's position in their manifesto was that they were going to increase infrastructure as a means of addressing the annual crisis of legal education. The NDC's position is that they are going to allow for the faculties to train lawyers as a means of. We think that infrastructure is not an imminent problem. And the fact that they have admitted 1045 this year is indication that infrastructure is not an imminent problem in the fight for legal education reforms in this country. So we are cautious. We are not a partisan organization. We do not subscribe to any political ideal, but we only subscribe to the color that adds to the flavor of legal education in this country. And that includes the fact that we want access to whichever way the access would come is what the students of this country want. And we are more concerned now than beyond 1045. We are concerned about people that are out there who still want to enter the Ghana School of Law. And we want a system that allows that all these people are absorbed and given legal education training in this country.
Yeah. Philemon, I thank you for your time. Let me just have your last say on this. Kweku.
Well, it's a problem. It's a problem that has arisen in the recent years that must be fixed, because we cannot continue to frustrate students. We cannot continue to, create a situation where people who just want to have their dreams come true end up being thrown out of the door. However, we also must be cautious that in doing this, we ensure standards are maintained, and even beyond ensuring standards are maintained, that we do not more or less put the cart before the horse. But the solution in and of itself shouldn't be a problem. It shouldn't create a problem. However, we welcome it, because I myself, I want to go and read a professional course. So it's a step in the right direction, and more ought to be done.
Okay, Kweku, I wish you well with that. But Prosper, You're
Thank
going
you.
in with all the excitement. What are your expectations, Prosper, before we wrap up?
Well, the intention now is to go to school and then all of that. But then subsequently, it is just my and the expectation of all those others who have made it that we are going to have comprehensive legal reforms when it comes to legal education in Ghana. And I do largely agree with the views expressed by Philemon that though we have been able to make some strides at least this year. I mean, if you compare what happened this year, 1045 to last year's 128, we can see that at least we have made some progress. And a journey of 1,000 miles, of course, we always begin with that. So we do hope that many of those structural bottlenecks that have been expressed will be resolved, so that those of us going in now will not really have an experience that will not be all too unpleasant. Yeah,
well,
that's what I have to say.
Okay, congratulations to you again. I wish you well. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on this conversation. We still have the National Science and Maths Quiz coming up, the semi-finals. 3 clashes we're bringing to you live here on Joy News. Thanks to our partners, Bright Senior High School in Kokoro, Tumi DBS Roofing, Papa Parfie, Adonko Hand Sanitizer, and Adonko Next Level Bitters. We'll be at Legon, the business school, live shortly with Maxwell Agbaba. Stay with us.
Wavotu dan e ba se ne no si agbene ko nyi o so hegbeye ajake moko ye ene yo bu ajejo yo na mama yo power kaka bo pe e ba fe su aka ba plabo aha ma wo kaje be na bo register mo ba nyi ma bi ase ka tu ni bi ye ma na mi aka waje me be na register amokotashi ẹ̀yin ẹ̀pẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ mama agbáka telephone bí la kẹ́ ń tẹ̀ bọ̀ ọ́nù túmọ̀ ọ̀tún kò lọ ẹ̀ka mi ní ẹ̀wọ̀n bí ọ̀ní ká mi challenge bò ajáka ní ẹni wọ̀tàṣẹ wọn kọ́ ẹ̀nà fi hàn nù ẹ̀ka mami náà yẹ ẹ̀jì o kájà bá nù náà ká mọ̀ kó wò wọ́yà mi náà nọ̀nà ètè nọ̀nà ẹ̀bà ẹ̀ wọ́yà mi náà nọ̀nà ètè nọ̀nà ẹ̀bà ẹ̀ wọ́yà mi áó wọ́yà mi. Wayami, no nete, no neighbor. Wayami,
Inke floor, engo, fanana. Therefore, yes, floor, engo, fanana. Ya no akemu fiamu. Binila tenke, inke floor, engo, fanana. Ejake 4 years ne, bako iye roake, ebanache, abachu sila anuchumu. 4 years ne, bako ebanabachu, sempe nuchumu.
We need peace and unity. We are all here to do what is right. But as now, what is going on? It's not fair. If you pass here, people are passing you, pass here, they are fighting here and there. We are not here to fight. We need peace and unity.
God, James Town, fishing a ball, no, Benjamin Fat, or from what Tabiani, Nibanaka, Akufado, Ametena, my cat sword, Najaluchi Moshi, or Benjamin Fat, Fat, or you them not three. Time not 3 when you know Yakuto name, no, or get 4 more Yakuto name. I'm a circle overhead. Skanaka ma circle overhead, a bridge of Ino, when I come up Poquase, interchange Nafio. When I come up Canation.
Correct. Etiago.
Oh, Cabo, Libby come here.
Etiago. If I know, Yakuto, Poquase, no me lobby skakeba. No. I got Scaniba. Scanakeba, then I get you. Poquase, no lobby skakeba. Ishana na cat saw there. They are Kufuado first in DCC. Kufua, Nibade sword cat Mosisi, Nikufa Gametehu. Afe no Konuku. Nitua Gamini. Atao Skakamashumo.
Anamatao.
Oh, Umbra. Keskakobe, Biame, Menica Biamake, and another Keskaba.
Ofaneke or Atao Skako. Ni Oba cat saw there. Dicasano or Ajenutumonji. Sure, can I take a look okay?
Over nephew. I got 3 months. FA project. Onye no tasi ni 3 months, you know, I got get ofe ne kene.
Many nigga you are there. Get a BSS, a B benefit your free SHS.
Nakala, because we never put Mofia money lay. I started free SHS, Jengo, then Akufu Aduba. Call Liana Chombu. I feel a pilot system, then Akufu Aduba. But Nagana Johnny, I get pilot. What I get piloting. No, about Debbie Abaka, Nine, a benefit Marlo. Danny, about nearly few, a get more family. Ena ese si onye otesi problem
I mean na kwale am sumo na me yo I feel free SHS nyeke ba no when this no
okay ba
about for shiki ajo ndo mani mama
over ne botwe mo femu ni ba do mo adeka mi ne vote ni lante vanna boy ke ejo mama be mo ko nu pajile tawo ebi no ya eja ke Akakufado Fashikapo, Minkabu Biane, 4 years, Nakufado, your free SHS, Chicago, open a light bill free, water bill free, open as a Ghanaian, no, light bill free, water bill free, vote for more for Nanado, Panama, Yabiane, Minkabo, Panama by election.
Panama will never be MPA.
Neil and Tavanapo, four more.
John Dramani
NDC Nila Tevanapo Salaga Makete Botwe Salaga Makete I'm a Kumon for 23 years Ninkabo you I have a video on my phone Nisla Atwoni Lebi Many Josh 7 me pa 4 a Josh 4 na pa
12 Ona money ata was kake ba project
over ne
ata was shika na ke ba fi project
over ne Botwe asatino Ninkabo you Jamestown fishing abo Yakwaje nutumu na tuwe
propaganda ni they are all lies.
Ni twanga be jodo do
all lies.
Atuni yejen bi aneni nkabo yo bi ane MPP wa be MP bi e MP common fund me na ka fio
ke bi ani ko gogo the biggest liar in Ghana His Excellency the Vice President Dr. Aliu Babumia Amaleloni Akufo-Addo Amaleloni me to December 7th I want every Ghanaian got the pull me what to honorable Nile Ntevanapo can His Excellency Joe the betterment of this country
Ofane but eh natu
na me ba fite Ghana na me ba haju amemba me ba ju Ghana ska
Ofane e ba ala mawe
ame ju Ghana ska
Ofane but
na me ju Ghana ska
Ofane
me ju Ghana ska na kan so
okay